I am extremely disappointed by the ruling, but I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that we may have lost a battle. We will absolutely win the war.
And that victory has been earned in a manner which makes it extremely difficult for detractors to bark at the collective voice of the people. Despite a few legal hurdles placed in the way of an I.C.J. referendum, government is successful in obtaining a yes vote. The favorable outcome of the national vote on whether the age-old Belize-Guatemala territorial dispute should be taken to the World Court for resolution paves the way for additional steps to be taken along that path.
The government will try to go to the National Assembly within a week, week and a half, 2 weeks at the most, to amend the Maritime Areas Act, and then we lodge the notice of our formal, the result and our formal submission to the I.C.J. jurisdiction.
But getting here was no easy feat. May 8, 2019 was preceded by a lengthy public awareness campaign headed by the Referendum Unit, an arm of the Foreign Ministry responsible for educating the masses of Belizeans on the unfounded claim, as well as the likelihood of resolving the dispute at the International Court of Justice. Referendum Day was a test of voters' knowledge.
I personally think, it's been a long situation, many years, long before my time. I would have survived within my mother and my grandparents' time that we have always have this issue with Guatemala trying to claim territorial rights, and we've always heard that Guatemala is coming, and it's a time and opportunity now that we set this thing to a rest, where we have to decide whether we want to go at this situation now or we'll go at it later. And so I think it's a good idea, it's a good thing that has been planned within the people in the past to put it forward for us to go and vote and to make a decision and make a rightful decision.
Gregory Mogale was part of an initial wave of voters to cast their ballots at polling area 3 in Caribbean Shores at around 7 a.m. Throughout the course of the day, the ebb and flow across all 10 constituencies in Belize City remained consistent by established measures used to determine voter traffic. In Lake Independence, arguably the largest electoral district of them all, Area Representative Cordell Hyde had a hard time.
Well, it's always hard for me to predict how many people are going to come out. We always try to push as hard as we can to make sure that we get out a maximum amount of voters, because ultimately you want as many people to vote as is possible.
That notion held true in Queen's Square, the Prime Minister's constituency. PM Barrow was not there when we showed up at mid-morning, but Attorney General Michael Perrafeet, a card-carrying member of the United Democratic Party, stood in for him and shared preliminary figures.
It's been a slow trickle. Nothing fires up the crowd like a general election, so we didn't expect that type of fervor this morning. Then again, this is a far more serious issue. But so far, numbers still look, solid. We are 247 voted so far, up to 8 o'clock, and we expect that those numbers will increase as the day goes by. Not only increase naturally, but grow percentage-wise. We expect more people between 8 and 9 and more people between 9 and 10. So we figure Queen Square will get its usual numbers, or anything around 2,000 people today.
At the end of counting later that evening, the overall turnout fell just shy of that number. Queen Square, nonetheless, still managed to draw the most voters.
This morning, when I was interviewed by you and the Queen Square division having 2,170 voters, I still said that I was expecting about 2,000, which is very ambitious, around 90%. We polled, out of the 2,170, we polled 1816, which is still 84%. And even though that 84% may be the highest in the country and pretty high, I think it should have been 100%. Anything less than 100% for me on this particular issue is a disappointment, because then this is one election I believe that any able-bodied Belizean should have participated in.
To get voters to the polls, both major political parties were instrumental in mobilizing supporters and drawing out voters. In Pickstock, P.U.P standard bearer Anthony Mahler led the charge in bringing out supporters of the no vote very early.
To me, this is like a dry run for an election, so it's a mini election for us, and so we're just on the ground moving around people.
Hitting the ground running, Colette-era Representative and Deputy Prime Minister Patrick Faber took full advantage of his political machinery to meet the goal for his constituency. His position on going to the I.C.J. comes as no surprise.
Today, I support the government's position, and I support the U.D.P's position as well. I make no secret about that. The U.D.P in this area has mobilized its forces in order to help to secure the vote that we believe is best for Belize. And so I have my machinery in full effect out here today, trying to get our voters out and trying to get them to participate.
Going into a new date after enduring the legal battles to which the Prime Minister alluded to following a successful injunction on April 3rd, came with an air of uncertainty.
People, I think, were already suffering from some degree of fatigue in terms of the constant bombardment with respect to the campaign, with respect to the advertising campaign from both sides. And also given that there was a degree of uncertainty caused by the postponement, we thought it important to look, let's fix a new date, let's go there, that's the only way to really reassure people that it's happening and you're soon going to be able to vote and to get this thing behind us and start afresh in hopefully a united fashion.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano.